course, Facebook, thanks to the ACT Cruise Tourism page. For those of you within the sound of my voice, if you're listening. But apparently the connection, previous one was a little unstable. That's an internet challenge. Can't do anything about that.
Need more deep sea cables.
Yeah, we need another deep sea cable. Again, we need redundancy in systems.
Yes.
You support that, I suspect.
Yes. No, if we are a developed country. Okay, we're not developing as some people would like to push off on us.
Yes.
We have an amazing budget for our population size. We should be looking to have measures in place in case something like our connection to the world goes offline.
Right.
So yes, I do support things like that. And I know they are looking into adding another one, but that's a different topic for a different time.
All right. Well, no, we do appreciate that as well. And it's encouraging to see that the young man has his, one foot locally and the other foot perhaps internationally. I think that's also very encouraging as well. Prior to the break, we were talking about soft skills as well as TVET.
Yes.
Arguably, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Do you think we do enough TVET, technical and vocational training, at the school level prior to graduation?
No, I do not think we do, because if we did, we wouldn't have half the problems we have now.
Right.
And this kind of goes back to the whole political football thing. It's like, if you knew that these were necessary, why is it taking someone like me to come here now and bring this to the forefront? And people can say, yeah, we've talked about it, but what have you done about it? That's one thing. But like I said last time, a law on paper is only that, a law on paper, if there is no enforcement. So if you see where the problem lies, let's actually work together and do something about it. What do we have now? We're in 2025, let's just say 25 years where we have not figured out that you cannot grade a monkey and a goldfish to climb a tree at the same rate. One's going to fail and the other one's going to excel. It's a simple life equation, right? But why are we not equipping persons in the areas that they are naturally accustomed to or naturally inclined to? So I think we need to do an overhaul when it comes to the educational system to not only help them with their soft skills, but also help them with their technical vocational skills as well too, because as we just talked about, we're having a 60% fail rate in this country. Now we can attribute part of that to the fact that we moved from the GCSE program to the CXC program, the former being internationally recognized, whereas the latter is only regionally recognized. Why have we lowered our standard of education? I can tell you why. The statement was that too many children are failing. Okay, that's why you hold them back. You have them in summer school. You have them learn more. You have them focus down on what they're failing at. Just by saying that we're going to allow them to pass through the system because we got too many kids, that's not the population's fault. That is the education system's job, is to ensure that we're producing the best product. So if you ask me, I think part of the mistake is that we moved to a more localized grading system, right? And and this is no disrespect to any other persons in the Caribbean, because I'm pretty sure that there's other. I know for a fact that the more you move to the Eastern Caribbean, they have a phenomenal education system. But if we are looking in the mirror instead of looking at ourselves compared to our larger neighbors as to what the standard of education should be, that is where we're falling short. You can't stay in your house and expect to get a world-class view on life. You got to go to America. You got to go to Canada. So using that higher-tiered grading system is only going to encourage our children to excel more and compete on an international level instead of a localized level.
So I know you got other topics, and I don't, for that reason alone, I don't necessarily want to keep you on the education thing for too long, but when you talk about TVET, myriad of different issues, you have persons that will say, that has a bit of a stigma over it, but share with us, and I know that I appreciate that you're not there yet, you don't know all of the intricacies, and that creates a challenge in terms of actually having a proper vision.
Yes.
But for now, what is your vision in terms of going forward, trying to implement, vocational training in the schools? What would be your plan, the TVET? How would you want to see that done?
So what I've seen, I actually got asked this question, I think it was actually at the chamber debate. What we're seeing is here, right? If you look at, and we'll use a country like Japan, for instance. Japan keeps their children in some sort of academic format till about 6 o'clock in the evening. And I kind of, as I was young, I used to think that's a bit excessive to keep them in that format. But look at their success rate. They have a very high academic success rate because of that, because they understand that children are children. And if you leave idle hands, the devil takes over, as we would say around here. Or the idle hands are the devil's playground. So what they've done is they've put them in a system that has allowed them to go and explore as much avenues as physically possible in a given time until their parents take back over.
Right.
What that has allowed now is for the child's creativity to be focused and harnessed to understand what they like, what they don't like. So by the time they graduate, they have a very good understanding of what part of the world they're going to fit into.
Right.
And I think if we start to institute things where we create, for instance, summer programs, you're going to see a lot less criminality coming when they hit their teenage years because they don't have time to go and join their friends smoking weed on the corner, drinking alcohol, doing mischievous things. They're focused on education. They're focused on sports. We have to harness our human capital. And if we don't understand that if you leave a child to parent itself, you're going to get a wild animal.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. That's why we have hierarchies in life. Parents are parents because they're supposed to be there to guide. Children are exactly that because they don't know how to guide or how to be. So you need to mold that child into the best version of themselves, because if you leave them and you let the world do it, now we wonder why we have mass shootings in Cayman, why we have an increasing murder rate, an increasing crime rate. The children are unfocused and unharnessed. So we need to put facilities in place year round, especially during the school time, right, to ensure that we get the most out of our kids. And I think that's my answer for that, how we start to bring that in. We can start in summer schools. We can start with after school. As long as we get our children in a safe and controlled and learning focused area, I think we're going to see a lot better turnout for our kids in all capacities. Get them involved in something, man. Sports, after school classes, something. We need to start treating our children like what they are. They are our investment. And if we want to see a return on that investment, we have to start putting it into them.
You talked about the globalization and the impact that has in Cayman.
We do share a brain. That's exactly where I was going to go to next, but it's a perfect fit. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. I
I
appreciate
just had
it.
to throw that out there. Like,
I look forward to
I
your
was thinking it, and you said it.
Yeah, you see.
I love it.
Okay. So the on the globalization, you talk about that and the impact. Share some of your thoughts then. What are you seeing in relation to globalization and the impact it's having in Cayman?
So
Positive and or negative.
Well, the positive being is that we have the world coming here. We have the world at our fingertips. If you look back as close as 30 or 40 years ago in Cayman, we didn't really have the demand. Of course, we had, well, I guess our version of the roaring 80s. Everyone was coming here, but we, without keeping it on radio, we know why people were coming here during that time. But as we moved into the financial services sector very heavily, and we started to grow with our economy, our population started to grow. People only come to a place that has something to offer them.
Right.
Cayman has a lot to offer them. We're one of the safest, if not the safest jurisdictions in the Caribbean. We have a stable government, stable economy, and look at the view. Just look at the view. Those four things are a good enough reason for anyone to come from anywhere to stay here. So yes, the Cayman Islands as a developed country plays a very big role in the financial services sector globally, and a part of that globalization process. It's just that when I hear comments saying that globalization is not exclusive to Cayman, it's happening all around the world, yeah, that's perfectly fine. But Cayman is not developing in that sense to where we're going to continue to develop as a developed country. But we are not this third world in the bush entity that is trying to grab at everything to bring it all here so we can advance ourselves. As I've been saying for years now, we have arrived. And until we start treating ourselves like exactly that, being in the present, not trying to reach there, we're going to continue to undersell and undervalue ourselves as a people and as a jurisdiction. So when it comes to the globalization aspect, yes, it's always going to happen. It's always going to be there, because when you have something people want, they're always going to come after you for it. What we need to do as a country and a government is ensure that our people are Cayman skilled and world ready to take on all these jobs. But we're seeing that that's not good enough because the goalposts has been shifting. And let's take a little trip down memory lane for a second here.
Okay.
We went from being underskilled. Sorry, we can't hire you. You don't have the qualifications. So what did our people do? Our people went back and got qualified for this. Sorry, it was under qualifications. They got back and got qualified. Then they came back here for the same jobs that they told earlier that they were underqualified for. Now they're overqualified for them. And so you're thinking, all right, well, how many which ways can you shift that goalpost even more?
Or lack experience then.
Yeah, or lack, and now
That's another one.
Then it was lack of experience. We can't hire you because you lack experience. How do you get experience? I can tell you, I wouldn't have learned how to ride a horse had my father not put me on a horse.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So let's just say now we lack the experience. So now they went away and got more experience. Now they came back for the same job. What they get told now is, sorry, this position is now being made redundant because we're a global business. We're a global entity. We don't need to have our business headquartered in the Cayman Islands. But it is, though. It is. So what you're saying is now that we are outsourcing the jobs in the Cayman Islands to somewhere else at the cost of our own people. This is where we need to come and this is where you need a strong government to understand that, listen, they're coming here because of this. So if you're going to come to the Cayman Islands, you're going to enjoy those 4 things that I just mentioned. And on top of that, you're coming into a tax-neutral jurisdiction that benefits you as the individual, because what we don't teach in classes as well is how LLCs work and LCCLs work. The world is already on that. They understand that is a massive financial vehicle. But we're not teaching our people how to operate in that realm and how much lower risk that actually is for us as individuals. So they're coming here, taking all the benefit, but we're not seeing our people our citizens be the beneficiaries of that growth. And that's one thing I think we need to take a harder stance on, is that if you're going to come here and enjoy all of the economic benefits that this country has to offer, one of the few caveats that we're going to put in there will help you, will assist you in your growth. But our people have to be the beneficiaries of that growth. They have to be on the train as that train is chugging along and getting its cargo. And that's what I think. So when I hear statements of globalization is not unique to Cayman, it's happening globally. I'm sorry, what? So you're telling me you're not going to look after your people? We just have to accept it, that we're going to get outsourced in our own country? That is the most backwards way of thinking I have ever seen in my life, because it's showing me that, one, you're not looking out for your people, and you're simply saying you're just not doing nothing about it.
Right.
And that is how we start to regress back into a third world mindset. Because if you look at countries like Haiti, you have a lot of wealth and then abject poverty right next to each other. The difference is that's keeping the peace there is the fact that those rich folks have some armed guards.
Right.
So if we don't want to devolve into that kind of, and I'm sorry to say it, that kind of failed state, we have to ensure that our people can partake in the land of milk and honey, because everyone from everywhere else is doing so. Where is our piece? It's not no time for crumbs no more. It's time for us to have a seat at the table.
Some persons estimate that the number of jobs that's perhaps been outsourced in relation to financial services probably somewhere in the region like 30,000 jobs.
That's almost your entire Caymanian population.
But definitely at least the working population.
Yeah. So let me just tag on that for a second here. So over my lifespan, I've had a lot of time to sit down and reason with people like my father and people like Mervyn Smith. And I tell you, a lot of late nights on that property. Work was done a long time ago, but we're just
we can
locked
tell.
in. We're locked in. And we came to the conclusion of this. You've got 3 kinds of classifications of Caymanians or Caymanian citizens. You've got the blue collar, right? That's your tourism worker, your laborer, whatever not. Then you have your starting out white collar. That's the kids that went off to school, came back to look in a job for either law or financial services, somewhere in that field. Then you have your executive Caymanians. So from and this is probably a conversation from 8 years ago or more now, we already understood that the blue collar Caymanians, the ship done left them. And we accepted that because we have to work a lot harder. As I said a while ago, you have to work twice as hard just to get half a chance at that level. So what happened to the educated Caymanians? Now we're seeing that the ship doesn't want them any longer. And now they're getting left. So we're saying, well, I guess the last bastion is going to be the executive Caymanians, the ones that are sitting at the top of the financial services ladder, the legal framework ladder, whatever ladder it is, you're sitting at the top of it. But what you're seeing happen now is the ship's getting ready to leave them too. I can tell you from personal knowledge, people that are overqualified, extremely capable, regional leaders when it comes to the private sector, their job has now been made redundant and they're getting put on garden leave. So they can now go and change the title of the job to do the exact same thing that Caymanian was doing, but bring somebody else in to do that. So you have to ask yourself, at what point in time do we question who's captaining the ship?
Right.
What I can tell you is that the captains that we elect every 4 years, those are the ones that should be captaining the ship. So either we have an infestation of pirates, or our captains aren't doing their job.
Yeah.
And foreign investment or foreign pirates are the ones steering this.
Mm.
And now, last time I checked, in the country that is the Cayman Islands, if you are not a Caymanian, you cannot hold the highest office in this country,
Mm-hmm.
which is the elected arm of government.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have to ask yourselves once again, are they looking out for our best interests? And if the answer is no, then why are they still there?
Yeah.
You know that there was a push towards working to ensure that other persons other than Caymanians can get elected. That was a discussion before many years ago.
I don't expect to go to India and get elected to their government, you know.
That's
I'm a
right.
visitor in their country.
Say it again.
Okay. So last time I checked, if we are Caymanians and Caymanian citizens in Cayman, don't you think it should be your people leading the country, not someone
Would
from
make
somewhere
sense.
else? It would make sense. I'm pretty sure. What I think is crazy, though, we have yet to see an actual American Indian as president of the United States. But that's a whole different topic.
So I have a question for you now. On it's obvious as you've stated.
I like that you ask me questions because I now knows I have your engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. You have my engagement. No, I do want you to pivot on that mic. You know, like you want to. I don't know what that bird is. Like, is it a hummingbird or something? You kind of have to do one of these.
Yeah.
I don't want you to lose. I don't want the audience to lose you. But my question is, you talked about how you've had all these discussions, and I think it's obvious that you have had quite a few discussions and a lot of thought going into what you say, based on how you express yourself and precisely what you say. But is there anything particular at this point in time that you would say is you're most passionate about? Because you have a broad sweep, but is there something that Jordan is more passionate about, perhaps more than anything else?
I think, and forgive me because I like the
Political perspective,
Yes,
that is.
yes, no, for sure.
Not
for sure.
Austin's beautiful haircut. I'm not talking about that.
What I can tell you is that
Mhm.
in all the years of learning and doing and being a part of,
Right.
it's always come back down to the same question for me because I noticed it happen with my friends. I've been a bit more fortunate than my peers,
Mhm.
where I got options. Not all my friends got options, and that's really was a driving factor. So if you ask me what I'm passionate about, it really boils down to the fact that I'm passionate about our people.
Yeah.
I want to see us succeed because I realized that if I didn't have the strong parents I had that worked tireless hours, that did a lot for me, people have parents that don't do half of that for them. So their options naturally become limited. And if we don't have a society that allows for our people to succeed, what are we doing?
Mm.
What are we developing for? So if you ask me what is my biggest driving factor, it's our people and ensuring that the next generation and subsequently all the generations to come have a pathway to success, whatever that looks like. I could be a farmer and that's success to me, but they need to have the key word here is opportunity. We have lost opportunity in this country because we've sold it. We've sold our people. Our people are the prospects, and we've chosen to outsource that for personal gain. That's why you all hear me as you follow my campaign. Our elected arm, for the most part, has made decisions for pocket, not for people. And I'm going to keep on driving those kinds of points home because our people are our greatest asset. And keep in mind, we live in a beautiful country. But if you have no one to run that country, no one to live in that country, no one to indulge in it, just an empty shell. We just become ones and zeros. And if I want to be a 1 and 0, I'd go to a major country where my last name don't mean nothing.
So saying that your people is ultimately your passion, willing to kind of roll up your sleeves and do whatever it takes to be able to assist them. You keep going back to the fact that you got your mom and you have a strong foundation when it comes to your family. Surely that has played a very important role in your life.
Yes.
Now, when we talk about education, I would imagine that not necessarily all of the children going to that school have the same opportunities parental-wise as you did.
Yeah.
That's an issue that has to be fixed. How do you respond to that?
The unfortunate thing is, I think it's a lot harder to fix a broken home than people realize.
Oh, yeah.
But when you come to school and you see what's actually going on there, you need to create an environment for those children to actually have the ability to see that no matter what's happening at home, I have something that I can go to every day. You have to give them a reason to wake up.
Right.
And I think that is the beginning of fixing the problem, and showing them that just because you come from this background does not mean that your ceiling sits low. You can be anything you want. And as an educator and a person that is like, a lot of teachers become second parents for a lot of kids, and they want to see them succeed as best as possible. So I think having a safe environment for our kids to actually educate themselves and learn and grow and say that the world is at their disposal. The world is their oyster. I think doing that would start to begin to change the mindset of young kids that come from broken
Yeah, well,
homes.
I think that's a beautiful answer, and I think that being able to look and say, how do we get all of their teachers armed with, because you can see in there they're going to be parent, psychologists, and a myriad of different things in order to try to make that that dream that you have there a reality.
No, indeed. Well, we have just a little under 2 minutes before we have to pause and take a short commercial break. But I just want to seek to tie in certainly the globalization in with your previous commentary on youth and job placement. You talked about ships sailing away and leaving people behind, particularly in blue collar. But that's why you pointed to things such as plumbers and mechanics and the like. I just thought I'd throw out there that it's not the financial services jobs or the white collar jobs that are attracting the most work permit holders, but it is in fact those blue collar trade work that the lion's share of work permits in this country continue to go to. So certainly by improving TVET, improving these skills that make graduates more work ready from the time they graduate high school with some of these technical and vocational skills, we're also reducing the number of work permit that we depend on. So I think you're definitely on the right track.
Like I said, Cayman skilled and world ready.
That's right, indeed. Well, we do have to pause and go off to the news brought to you by the BBC. But the phone lines remain open at 745-2626, or you can give us a buzz on our WhatsApp number, either sending us a WhatsApp audio note at 928-2562 or the more traditional WhatsApp text message. But when we come back after the news, one other area that we want to touch on, and that is, of course, Cayman's political landscape, and that's rather broad, but I'm going to suggest, if not plant a seed, for you to think about when we come back, and that is, in your opinion, what is it that sets the Cayman Islands National Party aside from the rest of the field in this political landscape? Keep it locked. There'll be more Straight Talk in Jordan River still to come right here on Bobo FM.
Bobo. How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
The vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world.
Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
BBC News.
BBC News.
World news from the BBC. Violent clashes.
Thick black smoke.
A tremendous legal victory.
Crucial elections.
Destructive wind.
A search and recovery operation.
A race against time.
An imminent threat. Flying a drone over a rival team's training session.
Whatever is happening, wherever it's happening, catch up with the latest news bulletins from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
The BBC's From Our Own Correspondent.
In today's Russia, no one is allowed anywhere near the political stage if they pose a serious challenge to Vladimir Putin.
Stories and reflections from our reporters around the world.
There is a major sense of insecurity here.
More people are coming in from Sudan every day.
From Our Own Correspondent from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
Visit Healthcare Pharmacy's second location in Governor Square, servicing West Bay and the 7 Mile Beach Corridor with a care and professionalism you have come to expect from Healthcare Pharmacy. Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor Square also stocks a huge selection of Hallmark and shoebox greeting cards, vitamins, sunblock, last minute and everyday needs. To refill and transfer your prescriptions, simply WhatsApp 329-7313 or visit healthcarepharmacy.ky or drop by Monday to Saturday from 9 till 6.
Hello, I'm Neil Nunes with the BBC News. The United States has said it expects all the parties in Gaza to comply with international humanitarian law following the killing by Israel of 15 paramedics, civil defense workers, and a UN worker. But the State Department spokeswoman Tammy Bruce added that every single thing that happens in Gaza is happening because of Hamas. Our correspondent Tom Bateman raised the issue with her at a press conference.
I went on to press her about the issue of the State Department's own processes, because remember, the US is Israel's biggest supplier of arms. Under American law, US weapons can't be supplied to foreign militaries if they suspect they could be used for gross violations of human rights. And there are internally processes within the State Department that tend to look at incidents that they might be concerned about for that reason. And I pressed her, not for the first time, on an incident in Gaza, but she simply wouldn't go there, wouldn't answer that question.
The French far-right leader Marine Le Pen has condemned as a political decision her conviction for embezzlement, which means she won't be allowed to run in the presidential election in 2 years. She says she's innocent and will appeal.
Il y a des millions de Français qui sont indignés.
There are millions of French people who are indignant to an unimaginable extent, when they see that in France, the country of human rights, judges have put in place practices which we thought were reserved for authoritarian regimes.
Ms. Le Pen has been sentenced to 4 years in prison, half of it suspended, for diverting European parliamentary allowances for her own party's use. A woman who accused Prince Andrew of sexually assaulting her when she was 17 says she's been involved in a serious accident and is in hospital. Virginia Giuffre said she had suffered kidney failure after a collision with a school bus. Here's Neda Tawfiq.
Virginia Giuffre is covered in bruises and in a hospital bed in a photo posted on her social media. She wrote that doctors had given her 4 days to live and were transferring her to a specialist. It's unclear where and when the collision with the school bus happened. Responding to the BBC, her spokesperson confirmed she was receiving medical care in the hospital and said Ms. Giuffre greatly appreciated the well wishes people were sending. Her sex abuse allegations against Prince Andrew led the royal to step down from public duties and to reach a private settlement with her. He has strongly denied her claims.
The United States has sought to defend itself over the pace of its deployment of earthquake emergency aid to Myanmar, following the Trump administration's announcement last week that it was dismantling USAID, America's main overseas aid agency. The State Department said a team was on its way and had set aside $2 million for aid organizations. World News from the BBC. The United States says it's deported another group of alleged gang members to El Salvador. It said the 17 men were from Venezuela and Central America. They've been sent to a notorious Salvadorian high-security prison where they're expected to be held for at least a year. Nicaragua has suspended authorization for the former president of Panama, Ricardo Martinelli, to enter the country, despite granting him asylum on humanitarian grounds. The announcement came as he was about to leave the Nicaraguan embassy and fly to the capital, Managua, on a private plane. President Rosario Murillo said Nicaragua wasn't willing to enter an international dispute. Mr. Martinelli was sentenced to prison for corruption a year ago and banned from running in the presidential election. A major incident's been declared in the English city of Birmingham over a continuing strike by rubbish collectors that's left 17,000 tons of waste on the streets. Workers walked out in early March in a row over pay and job losses. Residents have described mountains of rubbish. The two NASA astronauts who were stuck in space for more than 9 months say they felt humbled by the support they received. Nearly 2 weeks after they returned to Earth, Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore have spoken publicly for the first time. They were meant to stay on the International Space Station for just 8 days. Butch Wilmore said that it was important to learn from the process.
All the way up and down the chain, we all are responsible. So we're not going to look back and say this happened or that happened and that person or that issue or that entity's to blame. We're going to look forward and say, what are we going to use our lessons learned from this whole process and make sure that we are successful in the future.
Butch Wilmore, BBC World News.
The views and opinions Opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM with your hosts, Ellio Solomon, myself, Austin Harris, and of course, going into extra innings with our guest, CINP candidate for West Bay North, Mr. Jordan Rivers. Prior to the break, we were transitioning from obviously education, globalization, its impact on the Cayman Islands. Some would argue, the whole conversation of immigration reform and where we're going, but also education. How are we preparing the next generation for the jobs of the future? But now to politics. When we look at the current political landscape, both during this election campaign, but I presume also you're looking back to previous administrations. What are some of the thoughts that stand out in your mind?
So I think we can all sit here and by being seasoned professionals in this field, right? You all being elected for sure, you have that over me for right now.
Mm-hmm. For right now.
Yeah. Right now.
But not for long. Not for long.
Appreciate that. The Cayman political landscape has unfortunately become extremely fragmented. We went from having years to decades of two kinds of political parties to the point where we got so sick of that, we went and put in a sleuth of independents. I can tell you, because I was there for those 5 days when we were forming government, so I got that intimate insight. That was one of the most eye-opening things to experience that. And I can tell you is that one of the things that we had proposed, because as many elected persons were in that room, you had just as many, if not more, delegates from around the country that had a vested interest in ensuring that this actually stuck. And forgive me if I go wrong with this, but I think it could have been C4C was where the original breakdown was when they tried to come cohesively. They kind of flopped out.
Yeah. Well, that was the first, arguably, proverbial grouping of independents coming together in a not party environment.
Yes.
C4C was a grouping, not a party. Yeah. And they were adamant about drawing that distinction.
Something about branding money.
Potato,
two or break two.
Walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. Exactly. It might be a duck. In this case, no, it was a platypus. But anyway, we digress.
But in fairness, don't worry about it. I think even the PPM was a movement, not a party.
Quite right. Quite right.
So, again, it's fine.
Everyone's trying to draw that distinction, which strikes me also to suggest that, even the parties aren't necessarily excited to admit that they're parties. And for a while there, people thought, well, the parties were the problem. Yeah. Hence the birth or the rebirth of the independent movement.
Exactly.
Until, of course, we had the last administration. And I think that rebirth was, really a slow, agonizing death.
Yeah,
so we're back to parties.
That was a zombification.
That was a zombification. That's right.
Man. And we tried. We really did try in the initial stages. Yeah. We said, listen, you need your ground caucus. You need people that can actually represent you on the ground and bring the issues of the local man to you. Not because they're not capable of doing that, because I can tell you, as an individual that's tearing through 1,400 people, I know I can't be everywhere and anywhere at the same time. It's as simple as that. So I need persons that represent me on my behalf to be able to go and talk and bring the key issues that are not only affecting the district, but the individuals, and see where we can kind of find a happy middle, which is why I think things like district councils are so important, right? Because that now, and now I can tell you I have no information when I'm saying what I'm about to say here now. This is just my own thought process and speculation that I'm operating off of.
Right.
What I am finding that why have we not been able to implement a district council? I'm not going to stay too long on this topic, but I realize that when you get a lot of these political officials, they get very concerned about competition. And I can understand that. You did all the hard work and you want to reap the benefits. What I am realizing here now is that it seems that they're more so worried about creating the civilian arm of government to help work alongside or somewhat guide the elected arm of the country. Now, if you're so worried about competition by someone using that as a stepping ladder or something of that, something to catapult them into the political realm, I don't think it'd be pretty hard pressed to put in a piece of legislation or a piece of guiding framework that says, well, if you do this and you get X amount of terms, but you can't compete in the political realm for at least one political cycle, that gives you 4 years of lapse. And if that person now leaves the position of a district council member, they have to now earn that merit on their own. I think that balances the books fairly well. So if they're worried about competition, guess what, guys? I'm not even elected yet, and I've already solved your problem.
There you go.
So,
well, just on the point of district councils, and arguably some might say, really, you put that on the administration that came before the last. The administration that came before last, the progressive-led coalition, took the view, the policymakers of that time took the view that the Constitution provided the structure for district councils when we had 7 districts as opposed to single-member constituencies.
Yeah.
But my argument is, whether I supported that view or not, we didn't put in place infrastructure to fix that, and we had every opportunity to. Similar to traffic, we had the opportunity to fix the issue of traffic during COVID, but again, for what reason or otherwise, you chose not to. And I would just say, in defense of the last administration before the last, was that the only thing I think stopping the roads from being completed was this whole notion of, well, they're outside, yes, but they're in groups. Yeah. And again, there was no instruction manual to COVID. We certainly learned by doing, but certainly it would have been the ideal opportunity to address traffic, but it was not. But that's just a long list of things. I got a comment from WhatsApp. Listen, they have good reason to give Jordan a fight. They know that once he gets on side those doors, he's going to shake things up and make things uncomfortable, and they ain't ready for his kind of disruption. Jordan makes way too much sense with his ideas and intentions, and that's not good for quote unquote them. The bigger fight you get is indicative of the extent of fear you are building. You are a threat to their unethical comfort spaces. Go get them, Jordan.
Wow.
So that's a comment from the listening audience.
I have 2 as well, if you don't mind.
No, by all means.
I have one that's a little bit lengthy, this one, but good, I'm sure. Austin and Ellio and your guest, Jordan. I have been listening to the online forums with the Chamber of Commerce, along with other blogs where other candidates are appearing on. I've also reviewed the list of all the candidates in this upcoming election, be it the new groups which have band together for this upcoming election, or the joining of what is currently the new proposed PPM. And after all of my observation and analyzing, I have found that none of them left me feeling any excitement to go out and vote. And might I add that this has also been the view of many of my friends and acquaintances. However, as I was listening to Jordan speak today, I find my passion to participate in what I call, quote, my civic duty growing. I am so pleased to hear and feel the passion in his words, to hear the level of well thought out proposals and dialogue coming from this young man today has ignited the passion in myself. I want to say, quote, thank you, Jordan, end of quote. Thank you for giving us hope once again. I wish you all the best and pray that your constituents vote in your favor. God bless you, young man. And then I have a question. Jordan brings a refreshing and forward-thinking vision for Cayman, and it would be exciting to see him in a leadership role. Given his and his family's long-standing contributions to the tourism industry, it would be insightful to hear his perspective on cruise berthing infrastructure, especially since the absence of a long-term solution could jeopardize thousands of Caymanian jobs and careers tied to cruise tourism. And of course, again, Jordan, not me putting you on the spot. That is a real text.
That's fine. That is fine.
But anyway, you see that you've got persons out there who are offering up the kudos, and I'm glad to hear that the persons out there are listening in, utilizing the WhatsApp to be able to share their feelings about it. Now, I know you did touch on the cruise tourism a couple of days ago. I think you gave a very reasonable and level-headed answer. So maybe you just want to repeat it for the benefit of that person who didn't have a chance to hear it.
Yes. Now, I'll try and be as succinct as possible.
Sure.
With that, even though I come from the tourism background, and I do believe that we need to figure out how long we're going to be in these industries and how we're going to evolve these industries, both sides are laying out very good arguments. So I think it is prudent of the voters to listen to both sides of the line. And we're not going to even call them arguments. Listen to the reasons as to what's happening here, and you can make an informed decision based on that. I work in tourism. Anything that benefits me and my people, I'm happy with. But I'm just one person. I'm the one man on an island. I cannot make a decision for the entire country. So how I look at it, if you've taken all the facts into account, come April 30th, you cast your ballot yay or nay for what you feel the direction that the country should move forward in. I think that's just as best as we're going to answer that.
And you'll be enforcing their vote.
Yes, that is because the people are the government.
Yeah.
Well, another listener says, I'm not a voter in West Bay, but I am Caymanian, and I believe he is the change that West Bay needs. So clearly, you're getting a lot of praise and winning a lot of hearts and minds for those persons listening in. 745-2626 is the call-in number. If you've got a comment that you either want to make or a question that you want to ask and you want to do so in person, you can pick up the phone and give us a call at 745-2626. Or if you don't want to spend your valuable credit or you don't mind sharing a voice note or a traditional text message, well, you can utilize our WhatsApp number by dialing 928-2562. And again, from there, you can send us either an audio note or a traditional WhatsApp text message. You cannot, and I say that again, you cannot call us on WhatsApp because for whatever reason, we can't make that technology work. All right. So I don't know. We have our moment.
Question. I did have one question, and I'm putting you in the spot again, but don't worry about it. I won't hold anything against you, depending on regardless of what your position may be. But when I was in office, brought this amendment again to the immigration law that would allow certain jobs to be earmarked for Caymanians only.
Phenomenal piece of legislation, by the way.
Okay, well, gee, that starts to answer my question. What are your thoughts about the legislation, and what's your view?
Why haven't we implemented it already? Now,
that's what I like about this guy. It's almost like I'm paying him.
I was going to say, he must have been listening to you all these
I'm
weeks.
And I'm not. I didn't even offer him chocolate when I made mine.
Actually, you didn't.
Yeah, you didn't, actually.
Man, I'm going to hold that against you now.
No, anyway. I know.
Right.
Yeah.
No civility.
Here's the thing. Like, we can comfortably accept here. We can comfortably accept here that Caymanians are not going to be able to fill every role in this country. That's just a fact. But we have certain industries like tourism that is a born and bred product of our people and their ability to have persons gravitate towards them. We can call financial services whatever it is, but when it comes to the actual in-country investment that we're now so dependent upon, we would never have had that had we not had the infrastructure and the kind of citizens and Caymanians that we have in this country. So last time I checked, if I want to go to the Bahamas, I'm going to get serviced by Bahamians because Bahamians understand their product. I can say the same thing about Jamaica, Trinidad, Cuba, wherever you go. It is their people that is the epicenter of their tourism product because they understand it, because they built it. It is in their blood. And as a person that comes from a long family of seafarers and persons in the tourism industry, I am a firm believer. And we can look at a lot of other jobs, but starting with tourism, that needs to be a Cayman exclusive. Because at the end of the day, when we're talking about persons going off to receive tertiary education versus persons that are staying here that are kinesthetic learners that end up actually loving being around people, I can tell you what, at the very least, you get a catch net that protects that industry for our locals. So at the end of the day, they're never out of a job because unemployment only affects Caymanians. So why are we sitting at a country that has a population of 86,000 plus and have a 5% unemployment rate? We talked about this last time, so I'm not going to harp on it too long. But at the very least, if nothing else works out for you, you can say, well, I guess I got a job in tourism. And it's still going to pay the bills. It's still going to help you buy land. It's still going to help you purchase a home. At the end of the day, you are taken care of in this country. And that's the direction we should be moving. So on behalf of those that actually understood where you were trying to go, thank you for trying to fight for that. It's unfortunate that at the time you were dealing with that kind of stuff, people didn't have the same mindset as you.
Okay, well, I appreciate the answer. Tell us a little bit. I mean, we're almost out of time. I don't know why my colleague is laughing, but I always make him smile in some way. He does the same for me. It's like we cuddle each other. 6:20 here in the studio, chatting with none other than Mr. Jordan Rivers. Jordan, tell us, how is your campaign going in West Bay North, in your opinion?
I'm enjoying it. I'm not going to lie to you. I really am enjoying it. like I said, I can only hit so many places in one go. So I really do rely on people reaching out to me and wanting to organize. I have a really good committee that helps me kind of navigate as much as possible. But I'm only one person.
Mm-hmm.
And if people like what they hear, they want to see more of me, don't be shy, man. They can reach out to me. I think I'm going to do this a little bit in reverse so we can end this session off with a real big bang.
You're actually reading my mind again. I'm good, but keep going.
Great minds think alike, as they say.
So before you make your final hurrah end, and I know you want to, the comments and largely the praise are pouring in for you. You want to hear some more?
No, I'll say this. As much as I appreciate it, I can always listen to those kind of accolades on the radio.
All right.
So I think it's important for us to get through the things that, not that I'm necessarily here for, but the important things. And like I said, I appreciate all.
They love you out there.
Right?
They love you.
I will take that enjoyment in silence and not take it publicly.
Oh, we have to be
gentleman. You are.
We have to pour.
Don't make it so cheesy.
We have to pour it on you publicly.
Yes.
But one of the things you might do is ask all those people to help you with that canvassing.
Yeah.
But one person
in West Bay North.
But one person is insisting that I read it, so sorry, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
It says, what a breath of fresh air to have a young Caymanian speak with such confidence. Following Jordan since he started his journey, he makes so much sense and is so passionate about all the topics that I just get goosebumps. Why can't all our politicians be passionate to be Caymanian? Jordan, please make Caymanians great again. So there you have it. That is the vote of support you're getting from the listening audience. We do have at 22 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock, about 6 minutes remaining.
Yeah.
The floor is yours, sir.
All right. So I'm gonna plug these few necessary pieces, and we're gonna finish up on some real powerhouse stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to get in contact with me, they can reach me at jordan.rivers@nationalparty.ky. That's the email. jordan.rivers@nationalparty.ky.
He's got the repeat thing going on.
Yeah, that's right. The teach is to repeat.
He's no old dog, I can tell you.
Moving on to Facebook. You can follow me at Jordan Rivers for West Bay North. That again is Jordan Rivers for West Bay North. IG, my first and last name once again, .WBN. That's Jordan Rivers .WBN. Got WhatsApp channel, which is Jordan Rivers for WBN. My phone number is 938-8668. The number again is 938-8668. The party's website is nationalparty.ky. You can reach all of our profile pages. Once you hit that, it's very easy to navigate. Once again, it's nationalparty.ky, and you can search for me on that as well. My next meeting is April 2nd, 7 p.m. at Anderson Road near Cobalt Coast. Big up Miss Tisha for the pronunciation correction. Look for the lights and music. And the YouTube channel is coming up. I'm going to be treating the YouTube like it's an archive to just document. So we're going to get a lot of things loading up. It's online now. It's Jordan Rivers for West Bay North. That again is Jordan Rivers for West Bay North.
Okay, I got two more comments coming in. I don't know. It sounds like election night.
Hey, that boy.
And the numbers are coming in. So anyway, someone says here, I can't call any names, nice to listen to this young man as voice for the up-and-coming younger generation to look up to and trust in him from a new and progressive purpose in politics. And then someone just wanted to say, it's short, but says it all, Jordan, you are spot on.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes. Another one says, young candidate Mr. Rivers may not possess a tertiary education, but neither did or some of the older parliamentarians who have led these islands and were great representatives. I do hope that the younger visionaries / leaders are given the opportunity to represent us. We need to applaud Jordan and others who were willing to step into the political ring. They only make it better. I hate to believe it will be worse.
I'm going to use, my colleague used to say something in relation to education when we were making some critiques about building large buildings at great expense.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that verbiage now on this. A tertiary education does not a great politician make.
That's right. That's right. That's absolutely correct.
I got that wording from you.
Well done. Well, you have 3 minutes, 28 seconds remaining. I know you have a lot you want to say.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you the majority of that time and saving just a little bit for us to wrap it up.
I will. So, like I mentioned last time, this has become a campaign across the island of experience versus experiments. So I think it's very important and very prudent of me to show the listening public and those that will be watching what experience versus experiments, quote unquote, looks like. Because it's not only that, if you think that this entire election cycle is about experience, I can tell you, keep voting that way and you're going to see what you're going to continue to get. Character is a very big part of how we need to start electing our officials, because you don't need a tertiary education to have good character. That is instilled at the fundamental aspect of life from good parents. This is an excerpt from CNS from 2015. Ex-minister accused of meddling in procurement. If you allow me to read this, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I got action points for it.
Sure, you got 2 minutes.
The former education minister, Ralston Anglin, has been accused of interference in the procurement process and management of both the secondary and primary school projects during the UDP administration. And yet another damning report about government procurement and the problems of political interference and mismanagement by officials. Auditor General Alistair Swarbrick has pointed to a loss of some $25 million to the public purse, a lack of transparency, and a catalog of problems that have plagued public projects. Criticizing procurement practices and the lack of transparency, and raising concerns about government officials stonewalling his office in the process of the audit. Swarbrick warned that once again, taxpayers' money had been wasted due to a lack of proper management and inappropriate interference. Swarbrick said that government needed to have a serious conversation about political interference and, before it pressed ahead with any further development of the secondary schools, to take on his recommendations. Government, and I'm going to jump down here now. Government has spent far more than it should have and got far less than it wanted when it originally decided to build the new high schools and additional classrooms at the primary schools, Swarbrick stated. In other words, once again, we did not get value for money. And the last thing, the former Minister of Education from 2009 to 2013 was very involved in the management of the projects, including inappropriate direction around procurement. We found this involvement to be outside the laws in place for the management of public funds and obscured accountability, for the cost overruns consecutively estimated to greater than $25 million of the project. I'm going to leave it there. There's more. I'll leave it there.
Yes, you don't want your last comments to be your opponents, but instead about you. 30 seconds remaining.
This is where accountability, transparency, and good character come in. What you have just heard, and if people want to get it from me, they have my number now. I can send you the full thing. This is what we have elected in the past and what we can no longer continue to elect in the future, ladies and gentlemen. Gentlemen, thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much for yours as well, and obviously to the listening audience who love hearing from you. You'll have another opportunity to hear from Jordan again next week, next Tuesday, the 8th of April, right here on Straight Talk. That's all the time we have for you today. See you tomorrow.
The BBC on Bobo. This is the BBC World Service.